Hi, I'm Julian.
Hello, I'm Peter. We're a filmmaking duo from Queens, New York. We're both products of the New York City's public school system, and we can count on one hand the number of times anything remotely Asian, or let alone Asian American, were taught in the classrooms.
Despite our rich history and significant contribution of Asian Americans in this nation, we still feel like foreigners. Grappling with our identity, struggling to find our own voice, part due to the limited exposure of a story like ours. So we are compelled to tell Tony's fight for inclusive education for the next generation. Tony is dedicated to uplifting the youth through providing identity development training and pushing for legislation that mandates curriculum to include AAPI history and voices.
Tony's story is important. We hope that more people become aware that the work needs to start in the classrooms. Tony's our champion as he speaks to challenge the status quo.
How will you hold us? What separates a mandate from a movement are the shepherds who inherit the stories. What will the shepherds do with us, fastest growing racial group? 48 countries, deep 2,300 languages, and an ocean of dialects. Who will carry our stories? Isang bagsak, dalawang bagsak, tatlong bagsak. You may begin. My name is Tony DelaRosa. I am Filipino-American and an educator, an anti-biased, anti-racist researcher in ethnic studies policy at UW-Madison, specifically focused on Asian American education policy and how it's gonna be taught in schools. I always feel like there's so much in there right now that's like conflicting with each other, and it's helpful just to get the details out and then start organizing it. So like, tell me more. Part of this identity development is helping youth and helping teachers understand that their also story matters. And part of my work is digging those up or creating platforms for them to rise and shine and be heard.
It shows like kind of an individuality, but in a group all together.
Ooh, I love it. They can coexist,
Yeah.
you're saying. I moved to live in Ohio right when I was 11, 12. And it was shocking because I was coming from mostly a Filipino, Mexican, and Black neighborhood, actually. The neighborhood that we moved to was mostly like a lot of well-intentioned white folks. I think that was it. Oh, I've met a Filipino before. Have you also heard of, been to Japan? I'm like, okay, that has no relation, but I get where you're going with this. You're trying to connect with me. It's Midwest, so Midwest niceness. But to me, now that I think back on it from a critical lens, it was a lack of knowledge. Because of the lack of knowledge, it manifests in microaggressions or just straight, just ignorance, right? So I'm trying to correct that and make sure that other educators have the tools and the know-how to do that. The technical term for this lesson is exprasticism. Can you say it with me? Exprasticism. Exprasticism.
What Tony is really talking about is the power of coalitions, the power of being purposeful about identity, and how as institutions we need to do better and to make sure that all kids are represented in the school curriculum.
Open up the mic.
Let the soul speak.
Go.
Not quite fitting in either.
I can see two different worlds inside me. What part defines me?
Our culture is part of who we are today.
I'm both white and Japanese.
That else became us in the eyes of the country that we served.
I hate how I am only worthy if my grades are A's.
I am more than your model minority, a proud gay Filipino-American who struggles like everyone else.
Are people willing to actually put this into play, put funding behind it, put their time and energy to include Asian Americans in their lesson plans? And that's why I'm writing the book, Teaching the Invisible Race, embodying a pro-Asian American identity, because I know that once these policies happen, we're gonna need help translating. The translation from policy to practice has always been a difficult decision across race-based policies. So if I can help teachers, administrators contextualize that in a tangible way so we don't have to wait for policy, even better. Eyes that rise to the skies and speak to the stars are just like mine. The baby is sitting right there. And there, yeah. Is that a dinosaur? What does a pterodactyl say? Caca. Can you say caca? My little boy Sebastian is going to be going into school. He's going to be, understanding his race and how that shapes his identity. And I want him to be able to notice that. Do I want Sebastian to experience what I experience? Of course not, right? I don't want that to be the case, right? You don't want your kid to go through that. But then I always think about, like, from my lived experience has shaped my knowledge and my criticality of the world. I want him to be critical. Like, I want him to be able to take that narrative and take those skills so he can show up and prove to people that the kids are doing this, Kids are standing up, kids are being in cross-racial coalition with each other, kids are embracing pro-Blackness, pro-Asianness in a way that's different than the old generation, different than I was raised.